Headlights cut through the drizzle as a sleek black car glided slowly past the stop. Inside, Damian Ward sat in the back seat, his posture straight, his expression as cold and composed as the tailored suit he wore. To the world, he was the embodiment of power, ruthless in boardrooms, feared by rivals, untouchable. But tonight, as his driver turned toward his mansion on the hill, something caught his eye. There, beneath the dim glow of the street lamp, was a young woman curled protectively around a child. She wasn't begging. She wasn't even looking up. She was simply holding on as if the baby in her arms was her entire universe. Damian leaned forward. "Stop the car." The driver hesitated. "Sir?" "I said stop." His voice left no room for argument. The car eased to the curb and Damian stepped out into the drizzle. The chill bit instantly at his skin, but his eyes stayed fixed on the girl. Her shoulders shook as she tried to shield the baby with her coat, her face pale with exhaustion. Yet she radiated a strength that stirred something in him he couldn't name. "You'll freeze out here," he said, his voice low but firm. Clara's head jerked up, startled. Her wide, wary eyes met his and she instinctively clutched her baby tighter. "I'm fine," she whispered, though the tremble in her voice betrayed the truth. Damian studied her a moment longer, rain dripping from his dark hair, before replying. "No," he said quietly, "you're not." For a moment, only the drizzle filled the silence. Clara shifted uneasily on the bench, adjusting her baby's blanket as if that thin fabric could shield them both from the stranger towering over her. Damian stood calmly, the glow of the street lamp catching the sharp lines of his face. His suit was far too fine for this part of the city, his voice too steady for a man who should have hurried past. And yet he didn't move. Finally, he spoke again. His words weren't a suggestion, they were a command. "Come with me." Clara blinked, stunned. "What? No, I don't even know you." Her voice trembled, though she tried to make it firm. "You don't need to know me," Damian replied, his tone clipped but not unkind. "What you need is warmth, food, a safe place for your child to sleep." He let his gaze fall briefly on the baby nestled against her chest, then back to her. "I can give you that, at least for tonight." Clara's pride surged, forcing her to her feet. "I can manage on my own. I always do." But the words rang hollow even to her. Her knees felt weak, her coat was soaked through, and the baby whimpered softly as if echoing her exhaustion. She rocked him desperately, whispering, "It's okay, we'll be fine." But the lie cracked in her throat. Damian's voice softened, low enough to cut past her defenses. "You've fought hard enough. Let someone else carry the weight just this once." Clara's lips parted, her protest dying before it left her tongue. She looked down at her son, his tiny face scrunched with hunger and cold. Her heart twisted. For him, she could set her pride aside. With a shaky breath, she gave a small nod. Damian reached out, not to touch her, but to shield them both with his coat as he led her toward the waiting car. The mansion's gates loomed high, iron and stone glistening with rain. Clara's breath caught as the car rolled up the sweeping drive. She hadn't expected warmth to come from this kind of man, from wealth, from power, from a stranger who seemed to belong to another world entirely. Inside, the house was vast but not cold as she feared. A fire crackled in the hearth, its glow spilling across polished wood floors. The staff hurried discreetly, preparing towels, warm milk, and a spare room. Clara stood awkwardly in the foyer, her soaked coat clinging to her frame. She felt out of place, a shadow of need in a palace of abundance. But then Damian's hand appeared, not reaching for her but gently adjusting the blanket around her baby, tucking it snugly under his chin. Her breath hitched. It was such a simple act, yet done with such unexpected care. "You'll rest here tonight," Damian said, his voice leaving no room for refusal, no arguments. Clara met his gaze, searching for the catch, for pity, for mockery, but found neither. Only a quiet resolve. That night she laid her baby in a crib prepared with fresh sheets, watching him sleep peacefully for the first time in days. For the first time in her days. She sat at the edge of the bed, whispering a quiet prayer of thanks. In his study, Damian poured himself a drink but never touched it. Instead, he stared into the fire, his thoughts restless. He had spent years chasing success, yet none of it had stirred him like the sight of a young nurse shivering at a bus stop, clutching her child with all the strength she had left. He told himself it was only one night. But in the silence of the mansion, Damien knew something had changed. Пока я провожала гостей дня рождения, свекровь запихивала в багажник мою новую микроволновку.